Welcome everyone to the weekend edition of the StatsEdgeTrading market wrap-up. Every day we take a quick little look at what's happening day to day in the market. I share my watch list, talk about what FX trades and crypto trades I'm looking to take as well. On the weekend, we slow everything down. We zoom out to weekly charts. We get, the big picture look of the overall market. So that's what I'm going to do here. Also, I always warn you, there's a lot of charts here. Now, if you want to make sure that you have access to all of the screenshots of the chart and access to my watch list, where you can just copy and paste that into trade ideas, make sure you go to StatsEdgeTrading.com, put your email address in the little box there, sign up for the Substack. I don't sell or trade the email list. It's basically just a way that I can email all of this information out to you guys, and to make sure that regardless of where you are, you can, look at that email whenever you want and watch the video. So without further ado, let's get into some charts. This is actually a tweet I got published in the chart report, which is great. You should check out. Basically just zoomed right in, and this is the last 3 weekly bars on crypto. You can see absolutely nothing has occurred at all, but just to kind of make everything painful, there's long upper and lower shadows throughout. This is why I like this kind of weekly zoom out look that I take, because it gives me a really good idea of what's going on in the overall market, right? So we have this support and resistance zone right here, call it 25,000. It's been very, very important going all the way back to 2022. Again, I'm short a little bit of Bitcoin. I talked about that on that kind of failed bounce, I took a little bit of that short as that was failing. I'm up, I think, ever so slightly to flat on that position. Looking to get more short if we can get under the zone, but really ready to cut it on any kind of a sustained move up. We're just stuck in the middle of a range. Now, we are in a downtrend, right? So if we go, bring up my presenting software, but if we are in this downtrend, where we push down, then we bounce, and it looks like we may be coiling back over to push lower. But again, there's nothing really to say, hey, I've got to do this right now. So I'm very, very comfortable in waiting when it comes to Bitcoin. Now, a couple of the other currencies, I've talked about this for a while now, over a month. Aussie yen is very interesting to me. I actually bought some of this on the 4-hour chart here when we kind of came into this support zone. We broke out of this range and we've just kind of been testing it. So I bought a little bit kind of right here on the close as we've been testing this area right here, looking to see if we can start to push up. The ultimate goal is to try to get into a position in here somewhere fairly big with a tight stop, that if we start pushing up and breaking through these highs, I can be in this Aussie yen the whole time. Now, a couple other things. If you take a look at both of the dollar, both euro and pound, so these are pretty interchangeable now, down like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 weeks in a row to this area of support, which is also kind of the anchored VWAP from this low here. I actually have to move this over into there. So some room into this, but kind of some getting near some support around this 1.06 in euro USD. Could see a bounce here. That would obviously mean either the euro is doing very well or the dollar bounces off a bit of it. So we go to DXY, which is a index, but that index is very, very weighted in the euro kind of side of things. So I'm going to actually take a look at kind of maybe building my own index that maybe tracks these things a little bit more equally, but same kind of thing, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 weeks up in a row on the dollar right here. So, nearing this resistance point, wouldn't be shocked to see a little bit of a pullback or a rest before some continuation. To me, that makes perfect sense. So that's going to be what I'm watching. Last on the currency list, we have gold. And we talked about how it bounced nicely off this zone. I took a little bit of a trade through there. And then I talked about how, hey, it looks like it might be struggling at this anchored VWAP. So this is the anchored VWAP from the low here and the anchored VWAP from the high here. And yeah, it came off that. It pulled back pretty nicely. Now, these anchored VWAPs, it's called the anchored VWAP pinch. I highly recommend looking up Brian Shannon's book, which is Maximizing Trading Gains with Anchored VWAP. He talks about the anchored VWAP pinch. If you have one acting as resistance and you have one acting as support, you're basically just looking for one of those to give way either way in this direction. Now, I have a long bias for gold just because of the kind of long-term kind of cup and handle look that's going on here that I think we could break out of. But right, we are pinching very, very tightly in through here. So we do have to get a move one way or the other. And I'll be looking for either of those. So that is it for the currencies. Now we're going to get into trade ideas. Again, this is where I do all of my analysis and trading. If you're interested in trade ideas, make sure you use StatsEdge at checkout. Save you 15% off your first month or year, and kicks back a little bit to the channel as well. Not really too much on the equity list to go through. I went through a massive list of ETFs, almost 100 ETFs that I do every day and every week, but they all kind of had the same kind of thing going on here. We're stuck within a range when it comes to this market. However, if we look at DBC, for example, which is our commodities ETF, commodities seem to be pushing higher. So we have an inside week for the SPY, which basically means neither the high or the low of this candle took the high or the low of the prior candle. So we're inside this week, but energy, gold and oil and all that stuff, we have an outside week. So basically everything is pushed to the upside. So when the overall market's indecisive, we have this big push out of this range on oil, right? So this is DBC is the commodities ETF, but you're going to look at it on oil, right? Not really, a little tiny doji type candle, but an up move nonetheless, which makes this more impressive than looking at the other thing. Now, I'll slide this in here because I know there's one chart that's not right on here. So we're just going to take a quick look at that now. Many charts, so I want to make sure I cover everything I want to talk about. Oh, KRE was the other one. So with KRE, we have our regional banks, and we had some relative weakness to regional banks. And remember, right, regional banks have been exploding for a while, so this is a dangerous one. But I do own a lot of KRE at $40 a share. And I may actually look to buy some more, because part of the reason that I own KRE at $40 a share is we have this anchored VWAP that basically this is a way that I have been using to pick bottoms. I don't suggest picking bottoms. They can be dangerous, but one good way to do it is you draw, as opposed to looking for an absolute bottom. What I'm doing is I'm drawing an anchored VWAP from every time there's a significant bottom, and if we bounce from that and then pull into that zone, that gives me a low risk entry. Say, hey, if this anchored VWAP holds, I want to own some, because then that could be the reversal that I'm looking for. But if this anchor VWAP breaks down, then it's time to get out, because we're probably going to go and test new lows. Again, as opposed to catching a falling knife, basically you're catching a falling knife after it's bounced off the ground. So it's a little bit safer, but it's still trend trading, I think, is superior. Now, we held that, we pushed higher. I sold a little bit into this push. But I still hold a pretty large chunk. So now that we're back to that anchored VWAP again, if we can have the same kind of setup, which is strength over probably these highs right here, I'll probably add back in what I took out here in KRE. Now, that's an easy way to talk about it. On the daily chart, I did a lot of trading. You can go back in the videos and see that. But I've just been trading around this core position, because my theory is that if this is, if regional banks stop exploding, and they're done exploding, then at some point you're going to get a bit of a revision and maybe even a breakout as regional banks continue. So, and even the KRE pays a decent little dividend on it, right? It's like 1% a quarter. So it's, something, right? But the fact that if I can get a price like this, I just kind of want to hold some to see if we start slowly trending up over time, we get back to 80, that kind of thing. I'll be super happy about that. But again, it is a revision to the mean trade, and banks obviously could still be in trouble. I'm not a macroeconomics guy. I don't really understand that. So that is the plan for KRE. Now we're going to go through the watch list. And I'm doing this on Saturday, where I usually do it on Friday. Which means it's a big watch list, right? So just get ready. Get your coffee, settle down, let's go through some charts. So VKTX is a trade that I took on Friday. I was actually in Wolf Spaces. I'm on those Twitter Spaces all the time. If that's something that interests you guys, you can check out. But basically, I just took this trade, this opening range candle. I've been doing this more and more where I don't want to get very active with my swing trading, so I'm never looking at anything under a 30-minute candle, right? Give me the 30-minute candle for entry, and that's kind of what I'll look at. But you can see we kind of broke through. Let me try to get a proper zoom here. But yeah, we broke through this level and the other significant levels on the chart here right off the 30-minute open. So when it pulled back for a couple candles and then it put in this big green candle right here, that's where I pulled the trigger. Probably would have gotten out if it broke under $15, or, you know, worst case, this low right here. Had a nice run into the end of the day. Sold a little tiny bit at 16 just to put some money in my pants. But what we're doing is we're trying to say, okay, if this is the first day of the breakout, now that I've locked in a little bit of cash, I can put my stop under this low. And if we as long as we don't break that low, I'll be fine. Looking to see if we get a push up here for 20. So that's what I took on VRTX. But yeah, I have a lot of things on watch here. I'm only going to go over the new things. I add new symbols to each day to the kind of list. And I think the fact that I have so many symbols on here is just talking about how it is an inside week. So I did get that chop that I needed to really sit down and say, okay, now I can look for some names to go off of. So there's most of them I'm going to go through, but some of them I'm not. So again, make sure you're signed up for the email list. And also, again, if you have trade ideas, you sign up for the free email list, you can just copy and paste these right into trade ideas. If you don't have that, use StatsEdge for 15% off at checkout. NVAX, I think I already talked about. Yeah, so I think it's going to start right here with this RGTI. Incorporating a little bit more cheapies in there. I like trading them. I kind of don't like talking about them too much, but I just want to say every time you see a stock that's like under $10, just understand you got to be a little bit more careful with that one. But just size accordingly, right? The percentage gains and losses are huge, which means I can apply less capital to each one, which is kind of what I look for. So this RGTI, this very thin gray line here I have is just the 200-day moving average. I like it very thin and gray so it doesn't block price action, which is the most important thing. But this stock has actually been trading down and under this 200-day moving average for a long time. And now it's flattening to kind of start pointing up. You can see on the weekly chart, had a big breakout, pulled back down. This is the same kind of bottoming setup that I like that I talked about in KRE. So now it's just putting in a clear support area right here, and then this downtrend line. So I'm just looking to see if this can break as well. Another thing you can do is you can draw, say, an anchored VWAP from the highs here. And for example, if you really want it, you could say, okay, if it breaks that anchored view out from the high, that's where I'm going to get into this name. For me, I'm just going to watch to see if we can get a push over 2. I'd like to get some at 2, and then your stop's like 175 or so. The idea from the long-term chart is if you can just see, let's put that double clicked, put that back, right? This high right here is like 3. So that's a massive percentage gain. If it gets to 5, you know, I'm loving life, right? But again, these things are speculative, a little more speculative, and certainly dangerous. So another one that is a little bit of a bottom fish on the weekly chart, but not so much on the daily chart. And again, if you like these multi-time frame views, let me know. It just makes the video a little bit longer. But this to me kind of looks like your stereotypical William O'Neill kind of cup and handle, right? You have a big cup here, you have the handle, and you have a 24% short float on this name. So pretty significant short float on root. And then if you go into the daily chart, you can just see we have this big base that's been going on here around $10 with these lower highs and then equal lows. So I'm just looking for one of this pattern of lower highs to break. And then I know absolute worst case I'm going to be out here, but I'm going to try to sneak into a trade a little bit quicker there. So next is GitLab, GTLB. This is another one that's very interesting. There's a very prominent high here at $54 or so a share. On the weekly chart, you can see how insanely important this price of $54 is. This is a newer IPO type stock, I believe. Let me zoom out here. Yeah, so this is the IPO price of the stock. Opened up around 100 and then shrank down. You can see how this $55 on the weekly chart is a huge deal. So if we can get through that, then potentially maybe we take a shot at 100 or something. INOQ, full disclosure, I bought some of this on Friday as a little speculative bet over this red candle. I'm looking to get the rest at 20. You can see we double topped here at 20, pulled off a bit. If that double top fails, that's the move I want to take right there. IoT is holding above these prior highs. It broke that and it came down. It's putting some indecision candles. So indecision candles are dojis, things with both a topping tail and a bottoming tail, just showing that the market's really kind of fighting there. On the weekly chart, IoT is a super big deal, right? This is an IPO company. So through this $30 or so, that would be new highs for this name. REKR, another cheap and more speculative name. Nice rounding bottom going in here. Again, gets above the 200-day moving average. That starts to coil up. To me, that's just a very simple symbol just to say, hey, okay, this thing's no longer just getting absolutely destroyed. I can start looking at long bets on it. On the daily chart, you can see nice little uptrend, pullback, uptrend, pullback, and pulling back to this prior high right here. So if we can get some continuation on that one, that's what I'm looking for here. On Twink, just a massive move on Twinkie, and then a sideways consolidation. If we go in on the weekly chart, this one's really, really high up in its range as well. Very strong stock, just trying to look to play that range. Carvana, right? Carvana's been a monster from $6 to $50. Was still showing a 41% short float here at Trade Ideas. Basically just, hey, every time it rallies, it seems to rest for a while, right? Rallied here and then rests for a couple weeks, then rally here, rest for a couple weeks, then rally here, and again, just some nice resting action. So a little bit of a pullback if they can get going through, I think it's 52 or so a share. That's what I'm interested in. Again, the weekly chart, maybe kind of a cup and handle starting to form here. So if it gets through that, maybe it takes a pop. I think 100 would be wild on this one because it's where it really broke down from here and then here as well. So I very rarely, these kind of outlandish targets, I very rarely get them or even hold for all of them. But it's one of those, I want to make sure the possibility of this thing is moving so that, you know, I can sell some right away to pay myself, but maybe keep a little bit for these moves. So DLO, just on the weekly chart, massive kind of round at bottom here. On the daily chart, we have a big push up, just a very stereotypical bull flag right here after this kind of really powerful earnings gap. Almost done. SN, this is a new IPO, brand new company, round at bottom in through here, and then just consolidating sideways for a number of days. So if this thing popped through, this is Shark Ninja retail trade, no idea. But just nice little base here. It has some resistance at about $37. If it can get through $37, maybe it tests its IPO high of 50. That'd be amazing. OLMA, a little break of this prior high. Pull back to that prior high on the weekly chart. Again, nice rounded bottom, rising 200-day moving average. So I take like I think the 50-week moving average, and that's how I just translate it to a 200. But, you know, it was under this, getting hammered for a long time. Now this is starting to coil up. Last time it tested that, it acted as support, as support. Now we're bouncing up here. PGY, same kind of, right? This thing's crazy, 30 down to 2. But now if you look on the daily chart, it could be putting in a little bit of a cup and handle play. Just looking for it to maybe bounce over this level here. See the 200-day moving average acting as support. Just looking to see if we can get a bounce on there as well. Rivian, so finally a big name that a lot of people know. We are already long Rivian, just full disclosure. Right, we were looking for this to pull back for an anchored VWAP, which I think kind of looked like this from this low right here. So we pulled back to that anchored VWAP. We chopped around it for a while. We broke up. So on this green day is actually where I bought some. Now it's consolidating sideways. So if it breaks higher, you know, if I didn't have a position, I would buy some. So that just means I will probably buy more. Tilray, same kind of thing, right? We have a position in Tilray that's doing fantastic from like 240 something I'm in. So, you know, right around this area down here. Nice push up. It's struggling with these prior highs and putting in this tightening pattern. So if we can break that, I'm interested in that one. So TUP, Tupperware, this thing was insane from 40 cents up, or from 60 cents to $6. Just went nuts. And now it's pulling back. I like these kind of plays after everybody's forgotten about them. We have this kind of falling wedge here with declining lower highs but equal lows. I like these things not during this craziness, but after everybody's forgotten about it. So if we can kind of break out of this declining trend line right here, I know I can buy it around 250. Stop's going to go like 225. I'm risking like 25 cents a share. If you get a crazy move to $4, hey, that's the risk reward is absolutely crazy, which is why you have to wait for everybody to stop thinking about them. Same kind of thing, right? Just speaking of, big gap up and then pull back as well. And nice kind of cup right here. If it can break through this zone, then that's where I'm interested. Again, I never expect these things to go back to these prior crazy highs, but hell, it's at $6-7. If I can get to 10, that's a great little type of return. ALV, this $100 level is very important. It gapped above $100, chopped there for a while, broke down, and now comes back to that $100, and it's consolidating here, making a nice bull flag. Looks very nice on ALV. Above this, right, maybe we challenge and break these highs at 108, maybe get to 120. Again, this is a more chill one that's not going to go crazy one way or the other. Caesars Entertainment, CZR, nice pullback on CZR right here. Just nice push up, and then the sideways consolidation getting very tight right here. And then on the weekly chart, you know, this one came like a lot of things, right? Overshot, came back, and now is starting to look like it might be coiling up again. 3 more. So Uber's a nice look here with a kind of a cup and handle type of pattern right here on Uber. Just broke that on Friday. So some continuation on Uber. I like this one. You go over to the weekly chart. Big looking cup going on here. So could challenge this high, which would be 49 or so. Through that, hell, maybe gets to 50. 2 more. SPRY. So this is a new one, a new IPO where we've got some clear support here around $6. And then we have these declining highs that have been going on here for a while. So I'm looking for the pattern of these declining highs to break. On the daily chart, you can just see it's very tight over the last 3 days at 750. So above 750, maybe it gets to 8, maybe it gets to 9. ZTS is the last one here on the list. Another energy stock, new IPO type of name. Yeah, just making sure that's right. So it actually IPO'd here, and this has been a strong IPO stock in a nice solid uptrend. Got some clear resistance around 25. Go over to the daily chart, you can see that a little bit more clearly. Overshot 25, sold off, hit 25, hit 25, hit 25. So through that zone, I like ZTS. Okay, guys, longer one on the weekends, but I like that. Gives us a big step back and a look at the market and a giant list going into Monday. So Monday, I'll definitely have my coffee ready to go, and I'll be ready to see what's going to happen in the market. So thank you all for coming by. Greatly appreciate it. Again, hit a like, leave a comment, share it around wherever you're seeing this. Go to StatsEdgeTrading.com, sign up for the email list. Those are the ways to support me, and have a good weekend. Get away from the screens.